Hey, it's Ms. Zimmerman. Welcome to my office. You can't really see much, but you got the picture that lines up with my head in the background. I am going to talk to you about six signposts. Um, Readers, when they read, use these signposts to help them dig deeper into the text. And so I'm going to go over these six signposts, and then we're going to look for them in a story that I wrote, and we'll see what we can find. So, the first signpost I wanted to talk to you about is contrasts and contradictions. When a character does something or says something that is the opposite of what they have been doing, that's a contrast and contradiction. So, for example, if I come to class every day and I'm super peppy, and then one day I'm down, you're like, oh, that contradicts what Miss Zimmerman's normally like. So maybe there's something wrong. Why is Miss Zimmerman doing that? And that will help us with plot and with conflict. I'll put these online too. So that was one. Two is words of the wiser. When a character, usually older, takes the main character aside and gives advice. So if, let's say, since I'm so old, I pull you aside and I give you some advice, that would be like words of the wiser. So do you like my little hand I drew there with a watch? Because it was a stretch that was actually a hand. But the question we ask when we see this in a book is, what's the life lesson and how might it affect the main character? That's theme. Numero trace is again and again. See if I can get it straight this time. Not so much. When you notice a word, phrase, object, or situation mentioned over and over. So if, let's say, you're talking with your friend and they keep mentioning how they're bummed, sad, 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 you might be like, all right, why does this keep showing up? Why do they keep saying this again and again? Maybe I should ask them what's wrong. Like, it'll give you some sort of hint. Maybe there's a conflict in the story theme. And that little word over there is foreshadowing. So, like, helping you predict what's going to happen. Three left. Aha moment is when a character suddenly understands, realizes, or finally figures something out. They might say, "Oh, huh." And then we think, how might this change things? And if they figure out a problem, it might help with the conflict. And if they figure out a lesson, it would help with the theme. And so, an example of that might be where I am also, I'm like, oh, I get it. When I'm thinking about maybe piecing something together, I'm struggling with an example, but pretty clear. You're like kind of that light bulb on the top of your head. And then the next one is memory moment. A memory moment is when the author interrupts the action to tell a memory. Why might the memory be important is our question, because it helps us think about these three things. So it's kind of like a flashback, like I remember when. Um, so that would be a memory moment. And then the last one is tough questions. A tough question is the character asks himself or herself a really difficult question. And then I would think, what does this question make me wonder? So thinking about conflict, future plot. And it's not just like, I wonder what I'm having for dinner tonight. It's, why doesn't that person like me? Like a tough, deep question. All right, I want to share with you a story I wrote called The Close Call. It's pretty much true as I can remember. There might be a few things changed just to make it a more interesting story. But this was from either when I was in middle school or high school, but when I was horseback riding. So I'm going to read this to you guys. It's 3 pages long, and then I want us to think about signposts. I'm going to do a lot of the heavy thinking for this story because you're going to think about signposts for one man band. Here's the story. The crisp fall breeze blew around me. I was thankful I remembered to grab my gray fleece hoodie. The warmth of the sweatshirt kept the chill away. I tightened my hands around the reins and gently kicked Champ to start to walk faster. He maybe started to move faster, but hardly. Champ was a lazy horse, but that was partly why I always chose to ride him. I knew he would never move too fast or throw me off. But in the back of my mind, I knew he was still an animal that could make his own choices. I looked at his ears, which tell so much about a horse's mood, and could see that he was listening to all the noises in the wooded area around us. "Which trail are we going on?" shouted Carly, another girl who is in my horse lesson group. Kim, our instructor, turned around on her white horse Jazz to look at Carly. "We are going to the back meadow," she responded. Carly smiled at me, her dimples on her cheeks showing. We loved the back meadow. There was plenty of room to let the horses run. It was a it was way better than being stuck inside the smelly indoor arena and riding around in circles for an hour. I gave her a fake smile. Though I wanted to be out in the pasture, I did not want my horse to gallop. Sometimes horses get too excited when they are running and they don't listen. Sometimes I questioned how I could love horseback riding so much, but be such a scaredy cat. I remember the time when the lights went out in the indoor arena and everything was pitch black. I remember. So this is a memory moment. And so as I'm reading this, think about why might this memory be important? So remembering indoor arena, Champ did not throw me off. And so I reassured myself that he would not throw me off. He was always a slow, steady old guy. So I think that this is starting to develop maybe part of the relationship with the characters, like that he had this experience, but could also be like a little foreshadowing. It's an interesting story that she chose to tell and remember. And so I'm wondering if that could be part of the foreshadowing of what might happen. Carly started to get closer to me. Her horse turned his head toward Champ and she tugged on her reins to focus her horse Cruiser. He was white and brown. He was a white and brown paint horse with two different colored eyes, a brown colored eye and a blue colored eye. "This is going to be fun," she said, still smiling. "I can't wait. I want to get out and gallop. That is way more fun than trotting around." Kim started to get quite a bit ahead of us. I heard Carly click to her horse and Cruiser picked up a trot. I did the same to Champ. Of course, he did not move any faster. So I am seeing again and again how Champ is slow. And so I asked myself, why does this keep showing up again and again? And I'm wondering again if this is something with foreshadowing, where maybe we'll see a contrast and contradiction of Champ's personality, which will add to the conflict part of the plot. I saw that he quickly noticed Cruiser. I might have read that part. As we trotted along, I could see the back pasture in the distance. There was so much green grass. The wood surrounded the pasture. There were no trees in the way. I could feel the butterflies start to form in my belly. Sorry, I was wondering if that was in the wrong tense. Anyways, I was excited to enjoy this. I always thought it was cool to be outside and riding. For some strange reason, it felt like real horseback riding instead of being cooped up in the arena. Kim pulled back on the reins to stop Jazz, and we made a circle around her. "I'm thinking we can go two at a time and canter down and back," she said. "Who wants to go first?" All of our hands shot up in the air. I could see that Kim's eyes were not looking my way, though. She pointed to two other girls in my lesson. "Mallory and Izzy, you two can go first," she said. Carly let out a groan. I turned and smiled at her. She always got overly excited, which led to being overly disappointed. "Your turn is coming up soon," said Kim, turning to look at Carly. The girls cantered down towards the tree line. I could see them turn their horses and come back. "Whoa," I heard some of the girls say as they slowed down their horses. I saw them turn their horses around. We were up next. I gave a slight kick and clicked to Champ. He started to pick up a trot right away. I sat back in the saddle and kicked with one leg and smooched for him to canter. He started to canter right away. "This is fun," I thought, as the wind blew around me and we moved across the pasture. I felt a tug on the reins, and all of a sudden, and saw Champ start to put his head down a bit. I knew that was not good. This was not like my slow old Champ. So this is a contrast and contradiction. So why is the character doing that? That's probably not going to tell us as much. The horse isn't really, I mean, it's important, but because he's having fun. But I think this tells us, as the character's doing, as Champ, the horse, is contradicting his typical behavior, it impacts the main character, me, and my safety and how that will feel. So I can analyze it through that lens. I'm just looking to see. So we have this. We had a memory moment. All right. Whoa, I said to him. The excitement, he's starting to run faster. That excitement can sometimes lead to no control. Whoa, I said. Champ did not slow down. He kept galloping. Whoa, I said louder. I could feel my heart starting to beat faster. My head started to zone out and go into flight mode. I started to faintly remember my first lesson, how we learned to sit back in our saddle and say, oh, kind of like a memory moment there. Whoa. I remember hearing Kim's voice telling us this was the most important lesson because that is how we stop our horse. Could be kind of a words of the wiser. I'm not quite sure if it's a life lesson though, so it would be a weak example. I think we can do better. Champ was not stopping though. This was not good. My mind started to zone out again. This is my anxiety working right now. I am in control. How am I going to get him to stop? I guess that could be kind of a tough question in this moment. Obviously, there might be tougher questions in different stories, but what does this question make me wonder? Is Heather, the character in this story, going to be okay? Is what that would make me wonder. Whoa, I said. Heather, sit back in the saddle, Kim yelled from behind me. Don't hang on with your feet. I started to snap out of it a little bit. I checked myself to make sure I was sitting back, not digging my feet into him, which would make him think I wanted him to keep going. Whoa, I said again as I tugged on the reins. Champ just kept running. All of a sudden, ooh, that's kind of like an aha, I wonder. All of a sudden, I realized I was getting closer to the tree line and I started to see a barbed wire fence. Aha moment. All of a sudden, I realized would be an aha. Crap, I'm getting close to the barbed wire fence. How might this change things? Well, she might get hurt. And it says, oh my gosh, I thought we can't run into this. He will get hurt. Oh my gosh, I will get hurt. Whoa, I yelled again. Champ kept running. Whoa, I yelled. The fence was getting closer and Champ was not slowing down. I knew I had to do something. In a split second, I told myself I was in control, took a deep breath, and sat back. I took my left hand and pulled hard on the rein, and Champ turned sharply to the left and slowed down. Whoa, I said, my voice shaking. Champ came to a stop. I could feel my body was weak and I felt nervous, but some of the anxiety was escaping. We were stopped. Kim rode over to me. I am so glad you were able to make him stop, she said. It's important to always stay calm in these situations so you can figure out what to do. Kind of like words of the wiser. Kim's telling me stay calm in situations so you can figure out what to do. So that's the theme. Take that idea of chaos, sort of, and think about a theme, which is more like a sentence or a lesson. So in crazy situations, or maybe like in chaotic situations, it's important to remain calm. Yeah, my anxiety was kicking in and I did not feel like I was in control. I replied back. Well, you must have found some calm to come up with a solution, Kim said, smiling. Sometimes sitting back, taking a deep breath in a stressful situation is helpful, even if you are not on a horse. Words of the wiser continued. I looked down at Champ, glad that we both agreed on my solution and did not get hurt. All right, let's go by the group, Kim said. I clicked to Champ and we walked away, and we walked far away from the barbed wire fence. All right, so I finished my story as the bell rang. I'm back now. And so, as you can see, we saw different signposts in the story. We found lots of examples, and I want you guys to go into One Man Band, and I want you to find examples of signposts. And so, there'll be a sheet that will explain the assignment to look for that. And I want you to fill that organizer in and find signposts. Have fun.